Vols are back.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, could be Wayne!
I think I got my swagger back. Oh!
I love it, baby!
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee wins! Brought by Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
Ball hit high in the air into right field. Going back is Sayre. And Tennessee can say hello win column. A grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You can't draw it up any better.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now.
I made up my mind. I don't expect to ever look back. I'm going to stay at the University of Tennessee.
Reddit did to do, and welcome in to More Important Issues. It is Sunday, September 18th. The Vols are now 3-0, ranked
Florida sucks.
number 11th in the country, and it is Florida Hate Week. Landon, tie my gator up. Just
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead and tie it up for me real quick. Yeah, get it. Yep, perfect. All right.
Nice and tight. Let's get a little Eagle Scout knot in there. Yeah.
Perfect. It is Florida Hate Week. I'm fired up. If you follow us, I know I already sent out the Florida graphic, and this is why you want to be a Tennessee fan. Like, this is why you want to be a fan of a school like an SEC school. You get College Game Day coming to your town. You get SEC on CBS. You get Checker Neyland. It's all the pageantry. It's all the tradition. It's two rivals that hate each other. And yes, rivals. Florida fans can act like it's not a rival. Will Muschamp talked exponential amounts of crap when he was at Florida. Dan Mullen pulled as many shots as he could, or threw as many shots as he could as a coach. Florida hates Tennessee. Tennessee hates Florida. It's a rivalry. And it is a fun week. Akron's out of the way. I didn't want to talk a lot about Florida because, just business. It's all, and battered Vol syndrome. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself. Akron's over. I know we'll recap it a little bit, but Akron's done and gone. F them. I hate DJ Irons, by the way. I do hate.
Glad they got to experience what a real stadium looks like and head home with a fat L.
Dude, how awesome was that crowd last night? And there weren't even 1,000 Akron fans there.
That's what I was going to kind of start with. There was a crap ton of. It was a sellout.
You want to do a standing O for
Yeah, we
Vol
can.
Nation?
Yeah,
A little standing ovation for Vol Nation. Hey, well done, Vol Nation. Absolutely well done. Salute to everyone that was there, to everyone that even maybe wanted to go and couldn't. Mm-hmm. This is why Tennessee football's special. That's why this week is going to be off the charts. Awesome crowd, 7 o'clock, Akron game. Kids, there was like 6-year-old kids there till the end. It was awesome.
Yeah. I'm calling him Danny White. Danny does it. That's his new name. When he says something, he does it. He said it was a sellout. It was a sellout.
And I wasn't as negative as some people.
Well, we did doubt it. We did doubt it.
Well, I didn't doubt it like some people. Some people are, there'll be 80,000 maybe there.
Yeah,
I was like, I think it'll look full. Like, I don't think there'll be big gaps. I did expect the southeast end zone to where, they normally sell visitors tickets to be pretty empty. I expected those spots to be bad. I expected the student section to be fairly bare. But no, like, the entire crowd, there were no gaps. There were 0 gaps in that. It was awesome. Vol Nation, you are incredible. That's why I love being a Vol.
Yeah, under the Jumbotron up there, like above you, is usually where you see the empty spaces. Because that's where they sell, the other visitor allotment.
No, the other visitors in that corner.
Yes, but they usually like sell some up at the top left too.
I guess I missed that.
That's
that's what I'm talking about. Top left from you. Top left, yeah.
Top left for me?
Like if you're facing the Jumbotron?
Yeah.
Just left of the Jumbotron, upper deck, yes.
Okay.
I thought you meant directly under the Jumbotron.
Yeah, just to the left of it.
Yes, okay, yes. That's the gap I was expecting.
Yeah. And there wasn't one. It was insane. It was loud. There's a lot of people. The tailgate was probably better than expected. I mean, it's always great, but I didn't expect that many people to be there.
I honestly didn't either, and it's we had a lot of people peter in and out. Just how it goes. People got other obligations, other tailgates.
Nice word choice.
Thank you.
Peter.
And then it always gets pretty rowdy at the end as people come to get their last little nip before they get in the game. People that came through got lucky. I threw down some burgers about an hour and a half before game time, and
Petering and got lucky. Joe clipped that.
Did you get a burger?
Oh yeah,
Okay. I got to be honest. Thankfully, I was serving a pretty, we'll call them inebriated crowd. They don't hate food. I was pretty impressed with myself because I wasn't in a better state of mind than them. So yeah, no, just a fun tailgate. We were there at 11. Not a shout out to City of Knoxville. You all suck.
I'm working on that.
My man. I knew you would. My man.
I'm working on the City of Knoxville, yeah.
Well, let's plug the Florida tailgate again, too. Make sure you guys show up. Shout out to Austin White and Austin. He's with Realty Executives. If you guys are looking to buy a home, sell your home. Maybe you just want a friend to talk to. That's Austin. Great dude sponsoring our tailgate. It's going to be good. Jesse Berry's got some pulled pork for us. Tracy's going to throw down some burgers this week. Pumped for that. So it's going to be a good time. TV is going to be out. We'll be watching some ball games, college game day, all that good stuff. Come out, hang out, talk football, play some games. It's going to be fun.
Let's get rowdy. Let's get ready for let's pre-game the game. There's no more dress rehearsal. This week was a dress rehearsal. This week is not a dress rehearsal. It's the real thing, real deal.
And that's
why if you didn't come this week, it's going to be tough because you didn't practice.
I did a good job pacing myself. I told myself, things weren't going to get out of hand. People started throwing around some Jell-O infused things and asked me to perform for them, and I did. Got nervous, but yeah, my body's ready for this week for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the game a little bit. Tennessee dominates. They covered. Good teams win, great teams cover. 63-6 over Akron, and they just took care of business. They outgained Akron by 400 yards, 676 yards to 276. It was just impressive, and I think it was a slow start for Hendon Hooker. He started 3 of 7, and then threw 11 straight completions. And then on the stat sheet, 14 of 18, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns. Solid day for Hendon Hooker. I would say that helps his Heisman candidacy if we're still
we're pushing it.
We're pushing it, but this is the game. Florida is the game where you can really kind of hold your hat on.
Yeah, if you want to make a Heisman highlight tape, it's going to be against Florida. You better work. You better get it done.
Yeah.
And it feels like this season, I'm not trying to get ahead of Akron, but it feels like the season really starts this week. You get into SEC play, it's pretty much it's SEC from here on out, except homecoming. So to go in and what I liked about this week, and we're going to talk about guys who impressed for a minute.
Are we counting Vanderbilt?
Okay, all but 2. It wasn't just like the ones went out and took care of business, and then you rotated some guys in, and everyone played really well, I thought.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with, I don't know what you call them on the depth chart, but the guys who played in the front 7 on defense, into the third and fourth quarter, late third quarter, I was very impressed with them. And I know it's against an Akron team, but they still had to go out there and do it, and they did.
Yeah, you got to see a lot of young guys stand out and make some plays. Elijah Herring, he had that 3-play span where he had 2 sacks. He looked good. Tyree West looked good. He made a big tackle in the open field, and you just don't see a lot of defensive linemen like that make that kind of play. Joshua Joseph last. Dylan Sampson had a really good game.
Dylan Sampson might be the best running back in space on the team.
Yeah.
And I say might be, I mean he is.
And I love that you talked about space because Squirrel White, when he's got a little bit of space, he almost broke
a shoestring away from a punt return.
But that's something Tennessee needed. Tennessee needed somebody explosive in the return game. They just hadn't had it up to this point. But Squirrel White looks like, I know there's that trust factor in practice, and being a freshman is just, you just got to earn that trust.
And you got to get these chances too. He wasn't going to get thrown in Pitt to return for his first time. That wasn't going to be his first appearance unless injury brought it about or something like that. So that's why these games are big. That's why it's big that Tennessee gets ahead, so they can mess around with some things, give some guys looks that wouldn't otherwise maybe get those opportunities in a regular quote-unquote game.
Yeah. Yeah, but having somebody with fresh legs, I'm not trying to take anything away from Flowers, but, it's kind of difficult to play a whole series and then go back there and try to return a kick and be explosive. It just doesn't happen very often. So I think Squirrel White's just faster.
Well, I was about to say, Trayvon
Anyway.
does right, and he is when you just line him up you put him on paper 40 times, he's faster. Trayvon does a good job covering ground defensively, but with the ball in his hand, have we ever really seen that explosiveness that you need from a returner? So Squirrel provides that. It's a guy who's used to doing that. Not like you said, nothing against Trayvon. He is fast, but he's playing a whole series, and a lot of times, they want him involved in the run game, so he's covering 10, 13 yards pre-snap already every play. That's a lot to ask of a guy, and then like you said, to go out there and just change speeds on a dime. It's a tough task for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see Squirrel White get more involved in the return game. D. Williams was unavailable this week, so he probably benefited from that. And so he got his opportunity, made the most of it, almost broke one. And, something that Tennessee hasn't had yet up to this point. So look for him to get more involved in the return game. But yeah, just the freshmen just impressed. I thought they played well. I don't know what that linebacking room looks like next year with, Jeremy Banks might be headed to the NFL. Juwan Mitchell is back on this team, back available now, but next year he will be gone. So is Elijah Herring, is he set up to maybe take a starting role? I think that's something to watch, and maybe he gets more opportunities down the road.
Yeah, no, for sure. Me and you kind of looked at each other when he made his first sack, and were impressed with his ability. So very exciting, and I think even more than just next year. We've talked about the depth at linebacker. If obviously you don't know what he can do against better opponents like a Pitt, he didn't play, or what he may be able to do in SEC play, but doing it against Akron does start to build trust, and maybe those looks do come his way. Hopefully not due to injury, but they may.
Yeah. If y'all got any questions, drop those in the chat. We'll be happy to get to those. The running game.
Don't click on that link, by the way, again, if you're on Facebook. I don't know what that is, so don't do it. Someone commented.
Somebody commented a link on Facebook. Yeah, don't do that. I don't know.
Running game, though. Sorry.
I didn't see that link. Anyway.
It popped up on your stream.
Okay.
So maybe you can't see it.
Gotcha. The running game got going. I thought that's something that Tennessee needed to do. Jabari Small, goes out of this game pretty early, so you didn't really get to see him. You got to see a lot of Jalen Wright, maybe more than you probably should have later in the game.
Right.
Dylan Sampson goes out of this game, but he looked good. Justin Williams-Thomas played a little bit late in that game. So, but it was more production. You had bigger runs. I think you had 2 27-yard gains, which I think that is the biggest so far this season. And it just looked more explosive. You got people in space. You got Dylan Sampson in space with that speed option. I don't love our quarterback taking a hit, especially from a team that is more than happy to go for, quarterback's knee like that.
That, by the way, if you're in high school or younger and you're watching that's not how you defend a speed option, by the way.
No.
I would just like to throw that out there.
No.
As you can tell by Dylan Sampson's 2 touchdowns, that's not how you defend.
Yeah. You just gave them that. Yeah.
Right. Which I love, and I'm glad to see Tennessee putting that in the playbook, because I think that's one thing that this run game has struggled to do, is to get some of your fastest guys out in space. So being able to see that happen, I would have really loved to see more of that in the Pitt game. I thought that Pitt did a really good job at the line of scrimmage. Well, you didn't really find out how fast their ends were or how fast their linebackers were. You didn't test that. And hey, if you do it once or twice and it gets stopped, that's a different story. I would have liked to see more of that last week. So hopefully you do see it going forward when the opportunities present itself.
Yeah, it was an interesting wrinkle. I don't know if I pull that out against Akron, but maybe that's something you're working on.
Right.
But yeah, I think that is something to get those running backs a little ahead of steam, out in space a little bit, and that's what Dylan Sampson seems to be good at.
Yeah, and I just like how he gets downfield. He sees space and he attacks it. And I think Jalen Wright and Jabari Small do an okay job. I just don't think they're as fast. I think that's what changes it. Is he's fast and does that well.
Yeah, I think he's just got that wiggle to him where Jabari and Jalen Wright have put on some weight a little bit. I just don't think that wiggle is there with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just like we block it well, and you get the yards that you're looking to gain, but nothing is ever broken.
Right.
Like there's those explosive plays in the run game.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit more of that with Dylan Sampson. Hopefully, maybe he's healthy. You know, that's another thing. Tennessee did deal with some injuries in this game. Not ideal. Running back one goes down. Wide receiver one goes down. Dylan Sampson goes down. I think Tyler Barron dealt with a little injury but came back in the game. So we'll see kind of what, how they're treated and what kind of that looks like going into this Florida game. But yeah, you definitely don't want to see them anything less than 100% going into Florida.
Yeah, you mentioned the Cedric Tillman one. I kind of wonder what that injury looks like. I know everyone's got questions, and you're not going to know. You're just not going to know until Saturday,
right?
For sure. And I do. You talked about how comes out of the tent and everything looks good. Comes out and sweats later on. Dude, that first hit he took looked worse in my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of rolled up on.
He didn't get rolled up on. He just got clipped in the back and kind of flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looked like he got his leg. The other one kind of just looks like he got hit hard.
Yeah.
It didn't get twisted too bad. He did land on his knee, but it didn't look real bad. The other one, just the way he got hit and then landed, looked nasty. So I kind of, my thinking is if he is actually good, and that's the only thing. If he is, I think it was probably cautionary of going, you might have gotten banged up that play, then you get banged up another play. Let's just ease, we're good. Let's just be done.
And I think a reason that I kind of wasn't hitting the panic button when he went down is probably the day Jalen Hyatt had. I mean,
I saw someone say that, and again, I wish I could credit if I knew who it was. I just don't remember. But the one good thing to come out of that is Hendon had to spread the ball around after that. Going back into that trust thing, is there now more trust with Jalen Hyatt? Is there now more trust with Brew McCoy? You see a big reception from Squirrel White. Is that getting there now that you had to go away from your safety net, your go-to guy?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he just seemed to look more comfortable when he was doing that. Mm-hmm. And maybe he just needed to get in a groove, and it was kind of on from there. But yeah, Jalen Hyatt, he's the guy that's going to take the top off the defense. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that Alabama is able to just take a slant to the house at any given moment, and Tennessee hasn't had that in a long time. It happened Saturday.
It happened last night. It was anytime a guy catches a ball, 6 yards downfield and takes it to the house, that's an exciting play in football.
Yeah, absolutely. He was kind of wide open for both of those, and takes a 57-yarder wide open on a rub route, kind of a switch route. And then takes that slant to the house for I think 48 yards. And it was a big point of emphasis was the big plays on Saturday, which it hasn't really been up to this point. We've just kind of taken what the defense has given us, but it was the big plays on Saturday. And I'll credit to Akron for just being terrible, but you had to complete those passes, and Walker Merrill was wide open on his. Ramel Keaton was wide open, but you had to hit them, and Joe Milton hit those two guys in stride, and Jalen Hyatt was wide open for two of those as well. So big plays. I think you had two 57-yarders, a 48-yarder, a 47-yarder, and a 38-yarder. So a lot of big plays in the passing game, and that's something Tennessee wants to do is, attack the field vertically, and they did that. Yeah,
it was great. It was great to see that, and it was great to see. We've talked about with.
So we can do it both ways. That's kind of what I'm getting at. You can do it you can spread the field vertically, but you can also take what the defense gives you, and I think Tennessee's comfortable playing either way.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And that's one thing that Hendon Hooker was good at when he stepped on the field, and gotten even better at is taking what not force anything. It's why he's efficient. It's why he doesn't throw interceptions. Takes what the defense can give you, but he's also not afraid to throw the ball downfield. He's not afraid to give his wide receivers chances. So that's what makes him good. And you just don't really know with Joe Milton until you get meaningful snaps, but it's big that Joe Milton's playing good football because we've talked about this too going in before the season even started. You're just probably going to need him at some point in the season on meaningful snaps.
Yep. Just
the nature of it. Hendon may just miss a drive. But if you get a good drive out of Joe Milton while he's down, that's huge. Even if it's just 5-6 plays, that's huge. So good to see him looking good. And not that I think it's a quarterback competition. And apparently that's been a talking point today. I also think people complaining about it on Twitter. I don't think it's competition by any means. But you need Joe Milton to be at his best as well if you want to go to the Sugar Bowl, which is being predicted.
Yeah, and that's something that's – I mean, it just makes me more excited for next season too. You know, I'm not looking to next season. I'm focusing on this season. But it is something that you always keep in the back of your mind. And you're like, you know, who's coming back? And, you know, Joe Milton just – I don't know if it's just he has no pressure and, you know, pressure as in like, you know, I'm not, you know, trying to win a ball game or anything like that. It's just he's just going out there and playing. But, man, it's a little different when he throws it. It's similar to Blake Burke when he swings a bat. It's just a little different.
Yeah, I think that's you see a guy streaking downfield with Joe Milton and you stand up. You're very excited. You're
excited, but you're also nervous that he's going to throw it 15 yards over his head too.
Not anymore. Maybe not anymore.
But yeah, to his credit, he seems to have fixed, you know, that kind of flaw in his game.
Did you see the backside end on the Ramel Keaton touchdown though? That shouldn't have been a touchdown. He gets tackled.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know if he would have gotten to Joe because he's releasing it about the time he gets tackled, but should have been holding.
Oh, well,
maybe assault, just assault. I don't know, but
yeah, he fell down.
I know we've kind of talked about guys who impressed. Do you want to hit on any that we haven't talked about though? Just for sake of not repeating ourselves too much.
Not really. I mean, I was impressed with the freshman Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Dylan Sampson is another guy. Brew McCoy kind of had a little. He had a touchdown taken away. He had 2 offensive pass interferences. That one was and one was kind of
garbage.
Yeah,
it was on a little pick rub route.
Yeah,
it's a standard. He did what he was supposed to do. He ran downfield, clipped, you know, he doesn't arms out or he's not looking at the guy. He ran a good route. You see it at every level of football. It was in the first half. I want to say first quarter. Garbage call.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't love that. I didn't love the penalties either. Tennessee's averaging 8 penalties per game. They had 11 in this game. Not ideal. This is the game that you want to clean stuff up. And maybe
to be fair, 3 of those were just because of the chippiness of the game, which you got to keep your composure. You got to be smart. But 3 of them were – one was a late hit on Aaron Beasley, roughing the pass, awful call. One was Jimmy Callaway's ejection. And then there was I think there was another similar to that. I'm trying to remember it now. I said 3. But anyways, some of it was due to the chippiness of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of it's probably just, you know, the third and fourth quarter when you got guys that aren't normally supposed to be in the game. You know, maybe they jump offsides or there's a hold or something like that. So maybe it's not anything to look into, but averaging 8 per game is not ideal for this team. That they did take care of the football, so that's one positive. But penalties, they got to clean that up for SEC play if they expect to, you know, be in some of those games with an Alabama, Georgia, LSU, teams like that. Yeah,
for sure. And I'll go back to the guys who impressed. And there were a ton of them. You listed off a bunch. And I'll say Jalen McCullough, I thought, played a really good game. No, it's Akron, but I thought he just did a really good job of coming up and being physical at the line of scrimmage. He had 2, I would think they went down as tackles for a loss, at least at the line of scrimmage. I think they were both screen plays or something of that nature. That's huge. I just don't see. I mean, you're going to need your corners to play better, but I think our safeties are fast enough and they seem to be savvy enough. They're not going to get beat downfield a ton. So coming up and being big in that run support in support of the line of scrimmage is that's going to help our defense exponentially.
Yeah,
especially if the pass rush continues because that's where the ball's going.
Yeah, another guy I kind of want to add on, Jeremy Banks. I thought he played well, had 5 tackles. He just was kind of all over the field, and it was good for that linebacking group to kind of get that rotation in with adding in Juwan Mitchell. Jeremy Banks didn't start, but he came in that second play, and they just kind of swapped out a little bit. I thought you'd see more of Aaron Beasley, but we got a huge dose of Jeremy Banks and Juwan Mitchell. That might have been just how the game was going.
And it might have been too. Juwan hadn't played, so getting him comfortable before Florida.
Yeah, getting him comfortable with both of those guys was, it looked like that was the game plan for this week.
Right.
So.
And staying defensively, Kamal Hadden thought he played a good game again. Should have had an interception. Can't believe that doesn't get reviewed. He caught that ball. Yeah. I'm okay with calling it not on the field, but how you don't review that play? I don't care what the score is. Call the game right.
Can we get more replays too?
Yeah, I'm sick of looking at the crowd.
Yeah. Also, the punt team. Punt team's got to get quicker. I mean, they're going to get another punt blocked if that's the rugby style. It's just something with the upbacks and
it's not even rugby. It's not even rugby style.
He's just taking too long.
Yeah, he's not rolling out. He's not running. He's just it's slow and then you've got. I've not been impressed with our upbacks. It wasn't the block against Pitt that was their fault. But they've let some that have become close that guys are coming. We're not even moving towards them.
Yeah. That's got to get fixed for sure. We got a special guest coming on. He's yet to come on the show, so this is his first time, and can't wait to have him on. He does a great job of covering Tennessee. He's actually at GoVols 247 now. Ben McKee. Ben, what's up, brother?
What's up, guys? How are y'all? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. Been too long. We should have got you on a long time ago. We've had Eric Kane on too much, so he's kind of he's kind of ruined the show. So happy to have you on.
Do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll kind of start with Akron a little bit. We've been talking about it a little bit here, but Tennessee demolishes Akron. No surprise there. What was kind of your big? I know it's hard to get a big takeaway from this game, but if you had to pick one, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the injury situation is the storyline coming out of the game. But aside from the injuries, I think it's as simple as Tennessee beating down an inferior opponent the way that it's supposed to. And over the last decade, 15 years of seeing Tennessee football not being what Tennessee football is or what it's supposed to be, we've seen Tennessee play inferior opponents and not treat them the way that they should. And I always kind of think that it's the mark of a good football team when you do beat down a lesser team the way that you should. And Tennessee's now done that twice, 2 out of the first 3 weeks of the season with Ball State and Akron. So that was the storyline to me, just because I think they continue to show signs that they're a good football team. How good, we'll see. And they've kind of built up some goodwill these first couple of weeks. And you throw in the beating down teams the way you're supposed to with a nice road win over Pitt. And having to do so while not playing your best football, that's another sign of Tennessee being a good team. They can easily wash that all away, though, with a poor performance against Florida or even a poor performance against LSU and Baton Rouge here in 2 weeks. So I think ultimately that was just a good sign that Tennessee beat Akron the way that it should. And then I thought the storyline was the fans and just the environment. A sellout against freaking Akron. I mean, it's a non-conference game, and it's not Oklahoma or one of the big dogs coming in. It's a little dog coming in, and you will not have known it by the ball walk or the amount of butts that were in the seats. And it wasn't one of those, yeah, it's a sellout. And like you look up in the upper deck and there's just a whole lot of empty bleachers. Mm-hmm. There was a butt in every single seat. There were no empty patches in the stadium. So I thought the fans were also a storyline coming out, because that's also a good indicator of where the program is and how folks are feeling about Josh Heupel in this program. So I'd say the fans showing out and also the way Tennessee was able to beat down Akron, that's a great sign going forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so I want to kind of flash back to your thoughts before the season. So 2 questions. Where did you have Tennessee, either record-wise or just kind of going through the season? Where did you have them at? And then has your opinion changed at this point, or is it still, like you said, Florida's going to tell a lot more of the story than what we've seen so far. But Pitt's a big deal. That Pitt win's huge.
Right. I would say a little bit of both in terms of my opinion changing compared to where I thought they were before the season, but it hasn't changed dramatically. I thought that they'd be a 7-8 win team. I thought that was the most realistic range. And just for a simple breakdown, I like Tennessee starting 22, just generally speaking across the board, but they don't have the amount of talent or the amount of depth you need to go win 10 games or compete for the SEC East. So I know there were some 10-2 predictions out there. I thought that was a little off the wall personally. Is this team capable of it? Well, I don't know that capable is the right word. I guess could it happen? I think it could happen. I don't think it's very likely. I mean, I think everything would really, really have to come together. And that's kind of how I felt about getting to 9 and 10 wins in the regular season. It's possible Tennessee could get to 9 or 10 wins, but everything would have to go absolutely perfect just because of the lack of depth and the lack of talent across the board to be able to achieve that. I think people still forget that Josh Heupel's only in his 16th, 17th game after inheriting an absolute mess with the players leaving the program and NCAA investigation hanging over the program as well. So I had it at about 7 or 8 wins, but it has changed a little bit. I feel really confident that Tennessee could possibly finish with 9 wins because they did go out and beat Pitt. Like you said, that's a big win from just how many wins will Tennessee finish with, because I kind of thought that was one of the more 50-50 games on the schedule, that in Kentucky. Those 2 games worried me more than Florida or LSU. Florida and LSU are still 50-50 games. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that there's pretty significant evidence that Tennessee is a better team on paper than Florida and LSU. That doesn't mean that Tennessee will go beat those 2 teams. But my point is that I thought Pitt and Kentucky were better than LSU and Florida. So those were the bigger swing games, I guess. And Tennessee's won one of those 2 big swing games. And hopefully they don't kind of wash away the momentum that they've built up. But it definitely looks like 9 wins is where they're trending. And again, if absolutely everything goes perfect, who knows? Maybe they could pull off 10 wins in this season.
Oh, that'd be heavenly. I'll be unbearable on Twitter if that happens.
Yeah, I'll have too much fun. You've been covering Tennessee for a while. When Pitt ties up the game, you get that unfortunate play with Trayvon, the muff punt. It just felt like a loss? Is that kind of like you're preparing your article the next day for how Tennessee fell apart? Like that's been the story the last 10 years or so, probably more than that. Is that, in my opinion, that's the biggest turning point for this team? Is they found a way to win when they absolutely shouldn't have. Did you see a loss or what was your thoughts when all that happened?
Similar. I definitely felt very, very similar, just because, I mean, it seemed like, okay, this is typical Tennessee. I've seen this Tennessee football team lose a million different ways, and we're going to add this way to the list. So I thought it was trending in that direction for sure. But as I mentioned earlier, I do think, like you just said, it was a turning point and another sign that Tennessee is a good team. On top of beating down teams the way that they're supposed to, it's also a great sign that Tennessee beat what is a good Pittsburgh team on the road, and they did so having to figure out how to win despite not playing their best football. There were plays left out on the field on both sides of the ball, and they were still able to overcome all of those mistakes and make plays when it mattered most. I mean, Cedric Tillman left some drops out on the field. Hendon Hooker left some throws out on the field. Jalen Wright fumbles at the worst time. I thought the Pitt O-line pretty much held its own, the Tennessee O-line pretty much held its own against the Pitt defensive front that has a lot of NFL bodies. And then defensively, I mean, I think some areas of Tennessee's defense just kind of is what it is, but they still found a way to win. They made plays when it mattered most, despite some plays that could have been catastrophic mistakes. And honestly, I'll dip back into your last question about my perception of this team changing a little bit. The way Tennessee's defensive line played against a really good Pitt offensive line, kind of made me feel better about the direction of this team as well, just because this is a line of scrimmage league. And if you don't win in the trenches, you're not going to win very many football games. And I mean, I didn't think Tennessee's defensive line would go out there and just get absolutely pushed around, but I did not think that they were going to wreak as much havoc as they did. And I think that is a great sign of things to come, and bodes well for them in terms of potentially getting to that ninth win or maybe even a 10th win. So the leadership is the difference on this team, and why they were able to overcome those mistakes and bounce back and pull out a tough win.
Yeah, and you mentioned the injuries a second ago, and the game last night, just for the score, it was really chippy. And I know you had the video of DJ Irons getting separated from Tennessee players after the game. What was your kind of takeaway on that? Was it just a desperate football team in Akron just trying to do something, or does Tennessee kind of have a little bit of edge to them?
Yeah, I think
honest to Jimmy Callaway stuff.
Yeah, Jimmy Callaway. That's a whole separate conversation. If you want to know why Jimmy Callaway doesn't play, look no further than what he did last night. But yeah, I mean, I think it was more Akron than anything. I do think this team has an edge, but I don't think it's like an edge in a cocky way. It's just a supreme confidence that you need to have as an athlete. I think that's kind of the chip that this team has, and I think the defense plays with an edge. I mean, you heard Solon Page last week say that, hey, we play defense here too. So you can kind of tell that they have a chip on their shoulder in that regard, because everybody talks about the offense, but it just seemed more of an Akron issue. I'm not familiar with DJ Irons in terms of his background and history, but somebody had made the comment to me down on the field that he's just kind of always been like that. I believe he went to Grayson High School down in Georgia. Obviously, Tennessee fans who follow recruiting are very familiar with Grayson High School. It's where Wanye Morris came from. Owen Papo, who is at Auburn and Tennessee really went after. Jalen Smith, their current linebacker commit, is down there. There's been a lot of guys that Tennessee has recruited from Grayson. Apparently, he played quarterback there, and it's kind of always had an attitude to him and always kind of started things left and right. So sounds like that was par for the course for DJ Irons and just kind of how he conducts himself. Again, I don't know the kid, and that's the only story I've heard about him. But it seems like he was just a guy that ran his mouth the entire game, and Tennessee's defense just kind of got fed up with it and was trying to let him know after the game, like, okay, you need to quit talking now. You just got 60 hung on your head. You did it for a touchdown. You need to quit talking now. So I think that was part of it. But the bigger thing was just it did seem, and there's no way to prove it, I guess, but it did seem like Akron was on a mission. I'm not going to say to injure Tennessee, but certainly take out the best players by going for the legs. Again, whether that's intentional or not, I don't know that we can definitively prove that. But at some point, I mean, the proof is kind of in the pudding, and it was just really repetitive on the Sampson touchdowns, on the speed option, taking Hendon out both times at the knees when you didn't really need to. The Hendon Hooker situation, and there were other examples as well. So it seemed more of an Akron doing something that you don't see too often, rather than Tennessee just having this definitive edge to them. Although I do think they have a really nice, quiet confidence to themselves, which is what you want.
Definitely. Right. And then Josh Heupel, I thought, handled that question well. He kind of just diverted away from the chippiness.
You could tell what Heupel thought.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was mad.
Without saying it, unlike our friend in South Carolina, he had to call out some media members. You asked a question about Joe. So Joe Milton, obviously not competing for QB1. How important, though, is it to have that guy take the steps he's taken, or looks like he's taken? We haven't seen him in meaningful snaps yet. How important is that? Because now if you roll into an Ole Miss situation or reverse of Pitt last year, it feels like Tennessee has another QB1 in their pocket, right?
Yes, it appears so. Joe at some point is going to have to go prove it against legitimate competition, just how much he has improved. There's no doubt about that, but he seems like a passer. Last year, he just seemed like an athletic freak who was put behind the offensive line and and was told to show off the arm strength. And he looks more like a passer, and that's what Josh Heupel said after the game last night. And yeah, he hasn't done it against stiff competition yet, or proven it against SEC competition. But you go back and you watch the opener last year against Bowling Green, and he did not look the way that he has looked against Ball State and Akron. So even against similar competition that he struggled against last year, he looks night and day different. And I think it's big for two reasons that Joe Milton exists. A, because it's college football. You never know, or just football in general. You never know when an injury is going to pop up. I mean, it almost didn't look like Hendon was going to make it through last night's game against Akron. So who knows what could happen in Florida, LSU, or at any point on the schedule, as you were discussing. In today's world of college football, it's impossible to have multiple good quarterbacks at least ready to start, because you can always have like a freshman waiting in the wings. But to have two polished veterans that could go in and the coaches feel genuinely comfortable about getting the job done, that doesn't happen in today's college football anymore. So I think it's big for that. But I think more so, and looking ahead to next season, I think it's more important in that realm because Joe's going to be back next year. And Nico Iamaleava, he's coming in here. He's the 5-star. Obviously, that is going to be a circus, and I say that in the most sincere way possible, not in a bad way. But, I mean, he's a 5-star. There's been a lot of rumblings about how he got to Tennessee out there, and that on top of the 5-star. I mean, the moment he's not playing, I mean, there's going to be conversations. I mean, there's no secret. It's college football. It's college athletics. We know how this works with 5-stars. But I think the best thing for Tennessee is for Joe to be ready to go and ready to play from game one, which I think will end up being the case. And it's not a bad thing or a reflection of Nico Iamaleava. It's a reflection of Josh Heupel putting his program in the best situation possible to win and not have to worry about relying on a true freshman in Nico. Nico may be what Trevor Lawrence was as a freshman, or Tua, or Bryce Young, or one of these other 5-star quarterbacks that seem to come in every year. But there's no guarantee that he's going to come in ready to play. So if he isn't ready to play right away, I mean, look at what DJ Uyunglele has done at Clemson. He hasn't played to the level anybody thought that he would, and he was probably more hyped up than what Nico is coming in. So you just don't know. So to have Joe back next year, and I think he's going to prove to be a pretty good starting quarterback, to have that and not have to throw Nico into the fire, and Nico can kind of just wade in and get his toes wet and get comfortable, add weight, and all of those things. And hopefully Nico will take that in stride and view it as a good thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have a redshirt year of sorts. And look, he'll still get an opportunity to play as well. So I think that's the bigger plus with Joe at the moment. It's like, obviously nobody's looking ahead to next year, but I mean, you could have another great year of quarterbacking at Tennessee with Joe after Hendon moves on this year. And I think that's big, just because you don't know what you're going to get from Nico from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of staying on that offensive side of the ball. Tennessee has kind of struggled running the football up to this point. I know they looked better last night, but against Pitt, it was kind of non-existent. What do you kind of see as the kind of struggle? Like, what's Tennessee struggling with on that aspect?
Yeah, that's a fascinating topic for me, because I do agree with you. Like, there's this natural feel of the running game doesn't look the way that it's supposed to, but like I can't pinpoint the reason why. And I think I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt, because Pittsburgh was so predicated on stopping the run. We're going to load the box. You're not going to run on us. And Tennessee's coaches spoke openly about that last week, both Josh Heupel and Alex Golesh, that when they were asked about stopping the run, they felt okay about the running game, given the circumstances of Pitt loading the box and needing to attack on the perimeter. So it seems like that was maybe a one-off. We'll see the next couple of games, and that is obviously something that we may revisit if Tennessee struggles against the run with Florida and LSU. We'll look back and think, okay, that wasn't a one-off. Maybe that was a sign of things to come, rather than just an indictment of the situation of that particular game. But if I'm not mistaken, USF ran the ball all over Florida last
Yeah,
night. So
like
so Tennessee
280
should be able to
something. Yeah.
right. And I like Tennessee's three backs. We'll see how healthy they are on Saturday. But Jabari Small, I think that there's this weird feeling around the running game just because we haven't really seen a ton of Jabari Small after he had a great offseason and was talked about quite a bit. But Jalen Wright, I mean, he's looked great other than the two fumbles that he had in the first two games. And that was a product of him being banged up all throughout fall camp and not having any contact. If he was hit in practice throughout fall camp, it was very few times. So I think that was more why he fumbled rather than him just having a fumbling issue because of who he is as a running back. And he took a nice step forward and not fumbling for a third straight game last night. But aside from the fumbles, Jalen Wright's looked terrific. Dylan Sampson's looked terrific. So I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt for now, just because, again, Pitt was so predicated on stopping the run. Narduzzi's real stubborn in that sense. And it'll be a big test this weekend. Tennessee's going to have to run the football because if you go back and you look at every Josh Heupel coach team, everybody talks about the passing and this and that with the quarterbacks and receivers, but it always starts with the running game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's an interesting just going into SEC. Obviously this week, big one, Florida, and it's the next game. But going into SEC play, how do we see more after this week? Especially, do we see more Dylan Sampson than we did in the Pitt game? We talked about it just before you got on. He seems to be the best back in space. Is that going to be the point moving forward, or is it kind of even if assuming Jabari's healthy, is it still just Jabari and Jalen's game pretty much?
Yeah, I think so. Just because I do agree with you that Dylan Sampson is the shiftiest and can break the most tackles or make the most guys miss. But Jabari Small is the veteran, and it's why you see Warren Burrell on the field because coaches trust the veterans who they know that they're not going to bust on their assignment. They may not make the play, but they're not going to run the wrong play and just simply not be where they're supposed to be. They would rather bank on that than a youngster who may be more talented and just potentially having an all-time type of bust that could be the difference in the game. And I know I'm getting off from the running backs, but Warren Burrell also, like, there's no corners. There's no other options. Talking about those depth. Yeah, that's a depth problem that I mentioned earlier with Josh Heupel and people forgetting that he's in his 16th, 17th game, start of year two. But at running back, I mean, I think it's more of a nice three-headed monster, if you want to call it that, just a nice trio. I think Jalen Wright and Sampson both have more wiggle than Jabari Small, but I also do think Small has a little more wiggle than people give him credit for. He can put his foot in the ground and make a quick cut and make a guy miss. We've seen that from him before, and he's a tough runner. So I think he's a good underappreciated back because he isn't necessarily the new age version of running backs, which seem to be the sexy, making guys miss left and right. But he still gets the job done, and he's the veteran, and coaches are going to lean on him. So I certainly think, assuming that he's healthy and good enough to go, he's going to get the bulk of the work. But Jalen Wright and Dylan Sampson, they're going to get their opportunities in this offense because they're just simply too talented football players to keep off the field.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I want to get your take on Josh Heupel. I know you're kind of hitting on the program in general earlier. But kind of what he just seems like a genuine guy. And, I know the jury's probably still out because, like you mentioned, he is just in his 16th game. But what he took over and where the program is at now just seems like, a shot in the dark. Like no one expected them to be at this point. What's kind of been your interactions with Josh Heupel, when he meets with the media and just kind of your overall thoughts on where the program's at now?
Right now, the program's in a great spot. You've got to sell out against Florida. College game days coming to town. Checker Neyland. I mean, it couldn't be in a better spot at the moment, 16, 17 games in, given what he took over, just with the talent that was leaving via the portal. And it wasn't just bodies leaving and transferring just because there's a coaching change. I mean, there were significant players leaving the portal. I mean, you look around college football yesterday, and Eric Gray's torching Nebraska as Oklahoma's running back. And I believe Wanye Morris and Key Lawrence was starting in that game. You look down at Alabama, and Henry To'oTo'o is one of the best players on Alabama's defense, one of the leaders on that team. So they were key players transferring out, and there was a lack of talent, and it produced a lack of depth on this roster. On top of all the recruiting busts from Jeremy Pruitt, guys that he brought in that he thought were going to be really good, that turned out to be very overrated or just busts in general. So on top of dealing with that, he had to also deal with the NCAA investigation and just this opinion of what Tennessee is by people outside of Tennessee. So for him to have College Game Day come into town and be in the top 15 with a chance to get into the top 10 if he beats Florida a year later. I mean, he went from being, I think, a 15-point underdog last year against Florida in the Swamp to a 10-point favorite. I think that tells you all you need to know. I also think that Tennessee selling out the Akron game tells you all you need to know about where the program is as well. And look, at some point, expectations will change. I kind of think they'll start to change a little bit this week. I don't think anybody expects him to beat Alabama or Georgia just yet, but this is a very doable Florida game. I mean, Tennessee's the better team on paper. Will that mean Tennessee wins? I don't know, and probably not, knowing the history of this game. We know how these games go, unfortunately. But again, he's done great up until this point. He's done all that he can, but he still hasn't won a bowl game or gone to a significant bowl. He hasn't competed for the SEC East. And at Tennessee, you have the resources to go win a national championship. He hasn't competed to make the playoffs or win a national championship. He hasn't beaten any of the big three, and nobody's faulting him for that, but they will at some point. And I do think that time is coming sooner rather than later because of how quickly he has gotten things going. But at the moment, he's riding high right now, and he is what you see is kind of what you get in a sense. You're not going to get the fluff from him. Everybody loves Eli Drinkwitz and Shane Beamer because they're very accessible and they buddy up to the media. I mean, every week I see more highlights of Shane Beamer's press conference than I do his football team playing. And you're not going to get that with Josh Heupel. I mean, you're just not. It's not that he doesn't like doing media. It's just he's not enamored with it like a Beamer or a Drinkwitz. And because of that, I'm more so speaking about national media and kind of SEC level media. They don't fall head over heels for him like they do for Drinkwitz or Beamer or even going back to Butch early in Butch's tenure or Lane. Like, that's not Josh Heupel. But away from the camera and away from the microphone, just interacting with his players, I mean, he's as genuine as it gets, and not a lot of hypocrite in him like some former coaches or he genuinely has the best interest of his players at heart, and that hasn't always been the case during this decade of dysfunction. So he's as genuine as it gets, and you see that by what the players say about him and how the recruits love him as well. The recruits I talk to after visits, they love hanging with him, and that goes for the rest of the coaching staff as well. So the program's in as good of a spot as it could be right now, and if you would have told me that it is where it is right now a year ago, I probably would have told you that you were crazy.
Absolutely. And my favorite thing was when we hired him, all the people were saying he can't recruit, and he benefited from being behind Scott Frost at UCF. Well, look at Scott Frost, and then he goes out and lands a 5-star quarterback. So he's kind of like put those reservations that people had to rest a little bit. Now, maybe that changes over time, but at this very moment, he's kind of put all that to rest pretty quickly.
He has, and at the time, it was always silly to say that he benefited from Scott Frost and the UCF got worse. I know that was a common narrative out there from people outside of Tennessee that UCF got worse. Well, yeah, they went 12-0 the year before. They're going to get worse. It's hard to go undefeated. Right. They still went 10-2 his first year, and when you break it down from a statistical standpoint of what his offenses were able to do after Scott Frost, UCF was actually better offensively under Heupel than they were Frost. And there's going to be a natural step back when you go 12-0. I mean, it's nearly impossible to duplicate undefeated seasons. So to expect that after a coaching change, no less, was always unrealistic. And then there was also the narrative that he doesn't like to recruit and wasn't going to be a good recruiter, and that was a false narrative as well. And that really tied into him not being all gung ho about having relationships with the media. That was TV stations down there in Orlando being butthurt that they weren't best friends with Heupel. So, that was always ridiculous. And so far, he's proven all those doubters wrong. And again, expectations are beginning to change. I think this game this weekend is, I won't say it's a must win, but it's a golden opportunity that I think Tennessee needs to take advantage of while they can, if it really wants to fast track the program on the trajectory that it is right now. But Josh Heupel's what you see is what you get from him, and that's why the players love him and the recruits love him as well.
Right, and you said it's hard to call it a must-win because there's so much season ahead. It is, but getting into, you mentioned the fans, you'd sell out. Checker Neyland. It's a Florida team that you're 10 points better than on paper. See, twice in 18 years. I mean, all these college game days coming in, all these storylines around it is almost turning it into must-win. All eyes are on Josh Heupel. This is the next step. Like, if you want to be a good program, this is the next step. You got to go beat Florida at some point. You really got to beat them when you're better than them. So I think that even adds maybe more pressure. And I think it's just a lot of mental for Tennessee in the program. Like, what's the feeling? Obviously, you haven't got into it this week, but most Florida weeks, is there a little bit of tension? I mean, it's a rivalry. Like, how do you think that may kind of spin this week? Like, how do they prepare with all of that, all the odds, all of that on them?
Yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic because obviously we who have followed Tennessee football for so many years, especially, I mean, even really going back to when Peyton was playing in the late 90s, Florida has always had Tennessee's number. At least in my lifetime, Florida has always had Tennessee's number. So it's a weird dynamic in the sense of we know that because we've kept up with the Tennessee football program for so long and practically all of our lives. Mm-hmm. But Hendon Hooker doesn't know about that or care about that. Cedric Tillman doesn't care about that either. And I am always one because it gets brought up every year. And I'm not really just speaking about Tennessee, Florida, but just in sports in general, a team having another team's number or having a ton of success traditionally against a team, folks just automatically assume that the team that's had more success is going to win just because they have historically. Like, for instance, the Tennessee-Kentucky game. Tennessee's beaten down Kentucky for forever, right? And people now just assume that because there's a power T on the side of the helmet and UK is on the side of their helmet, like Tennessee's automatically going to win just because of that. And that's always frustrated me because it's like, no, that's not how that works. Mark Stoops actually has a good football program. And Tennessee's going to have to play good football to beat Kentucky. And it's kind of the same for Vanderbilt there in those couple of Mason years with Kyle Shermer when they were able to pull off some upsets. Like, just because traditionally it has gone one way doesn't mean it's going to go that way this year. And I kind of think that applies to Florida, although there's definitely a bigger mental hurdle. And I do think it's more for the fans because if you think about it, other than the Tennessee kids on the roster and some of the former staff members, and not just on the field, but off the field staff members who have come back to Tennessee under Heupel, I mean, outside of those handful of people, nobody has a connection to this rivalry game. Josh Heupel doesn't care how the Tennessee-Florida rivalry game has gone for the last so many years. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Tony Vitello in baseball and how Florida and Vanderbilt had always had Tennessee's number in baseball. Tony Vitello had no impact on that. And now that he's gotten here and kind of turned the program around, Tennessee's the one beating Florida on a routine basis. And maybe this past year's sweep of Vanderbilt, Tennessee baseball is going to start sweeping or beating, I should say, Vanderbilt on a more regular basis. Like, Tony Vitello doesn't care about the tradition of that game. So I think it's a weird dynamic. The fans obviously have a certain feeling about the game, and I do think that's going to have an added pressure on top of game day and all those other things. But the players, they don't care. I mean, these are all Georgia boys and kids from Florida and the Virginias and the Mississippis, like Louisiana, like these kids don't care about what Tennessee and Florida has traditionally done because they weren't a part of it. So I think that's a good thing that Hendon Hooker is going to go into this matchup not feeling the pressure that the fans are feeling. Yep. But aside from kind of the mental hurdle, I do think with Tennessee being 10-point favorites and game day being in town and Checker Neyland and Tennessee is the better team. There will be pressure on them, and I'm curious to see how they handle it. I think they will handle it well because the leadership is in a good place with guys like Hooker and Tillman and some of the defensive guys as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you about the players don't care. It's definitely more of a outside noise thing. I don't think you could get some of the top minds in college football, sports psychology, all of that to explain how Mark Stoops is 2-6, 2-7, whatever against Tennessee, because it doesn't make sense. Like you said, Kentucky
he routinely beats Florida, but he can't beat Tennessee.
Yeah, it doesn't. Program-wise, that program has been better shape than Tennessee's, and it doesn't add up. Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't either. I don't. I think he's beaten Florida 3 out of the last 5 years, but he can't beat Tennessee, and Florida's been better than Tennessee. It makes no sense. But I know that Tennessee fans take a lot of joy in seeing that despite Kentucky being a better football program, they still can't beat Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I love it. I enjoy it. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Ben, it's been awesome having you on. It wouldn't be a real show having you on if I didn't ask you about Tennessee baseball. Not trying to take away from your coverage with basketball or football, but baseball is your baby. I understand that. So you mentioned Tony Vitello in this baseball program. Tennessee's going to have a different lineup next year. Who are some names that you kind of know in this offseason that fans should probably get to know?
Yeah, there's a lot because you're replacing the entire starting lineup practically. Zane Denton at third base, transfer from Alabama, who has a lot of pop from the left side. That swing's really going to translate well to Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
We already know.
And he's terrific defensively. So that's going to be a big piece of the lineup, Zane Denton at third. And he's a Tennessee kid as well. The name to know is Maui Ahuna, the transfer from Kansas. He might be Tennessee's best player, which is saying something because Chase Dolander is going to be in the conversation for the number 1 overall pick. And assuming that everything goes according to plan, at worst, he'll be a top 5 pick. So to say that Maui Ahuna, the transfer shortstop from Kansas, might be your best player is saying something when you have a Chase Dolander and Chase Burns next year will be in that same conversation of top 5, top 10 pick. So Maui Ahuna and Zane Denton on the left side of the infield. Looks like the right side of the infield is going to be 2 pretty familiar names, and Christian Moore at second and Blake Burke at first. The outfield is going to be interesting because you had Griffin Merritt from Cincinnati, who was the AAC Player of the Year and hit several home runs last season at Cincinnati. He'll probably be a corner outfielder, and there's so many other guys in that outfield right now that are competing for spots because there are so many guys. You return a guy like Christian Scott, who has been here a long time, and because he's been here a long time, I think that it is certainly possible that he opens the season as a starter. You've got Kyle Booker back. Can this be the year that all of his potential really comes together and he kind of makes something happen? But then you have a lot of newcomers that the staff is really excited about. Colby Backus, the JUCO addition from Walters State, he's a kid that they're really excited about. And then they have a couple of freshmen who remind them of Jordan Beck when Jordan Beck was a freshman, specifically Alex Stanwich. He's an outfielder from Illinois, and he's built just like Beck. Maybe not as tall, but in terms of just as muscular as he is for his age is pretty ridiculous. And
C35.
What's that?
C35.
He actually doesn't look 35, but his body acts like he's 35.
Gotcha.
But him and Reese Chapman, another freshman, those are 2 outfielders that when they got to campus late in the summer, they were already hitting balls off the scoreboard. So there's a lot of competition out there in the outfield. And you'll have Jared Dickey back there behind the plate catching. Charlie Taylor will be back. And then there's some names to know in the bullpen as well, on top of guys coming back like Camden Sewell. That was obviously a big decision. Camden decided to come back. Seth Halverson is a name that Tennessee fans would have known last year, but he got hurt. He's a guy that is a major league prospect, has been in the past, but just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Has a fastball up to 100, and he could even play center field. He did at Missouri his freshman year, and I think they're also tinkering with that this fall, letting him play some outfield in addition to pitching. So that could be a fascinating situation to watch. And then you have Kirby back, and Wyatt Evans is back. I think he's going to have a big year. Xander Seacrest, really excited to see what his role looks like. But then Zach Joyce, the twin brother of Ben, has decided to play baseball. And from my understanding, he's looked terrific. He's not going to throw 103, 104, but he has a hard fastball, upper 90s, and I would say is more of a pitcher than just a thrower. And I think Ben Joyce does get a bad rap. Ben isn't just a hard thrower. He has good secondary pitches. They just need to be developed more, and I think you're seeing that as he's gotten into minor league baseball. Andrew Lindsay, a transfer from Charlotte, looks like he's going to be a nice bullpen option as well, and sat out last season at Charlotte due to some personal things that he had going on in his life. But he's a Tennessee kid, and he looked really good over the offseason. So there's going to be a lot of new names, but I don't think that there's going to be a big drop-off. And it's a team that still, in my opinion, will compete to win the SEC and make another run at Omaha.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. And congrats to you. You just got on with 247. You just had a baby, Knox. I'll be honest, when I saw when you had the baby, and then you put in the thing that you had some personal news that you're leaving. I thought you were going to Ole Miss or USC.
No, I couldn't do that. I wasn't going to hit the portal in that way. Yeah, and look, I mean, I think everybody's talking about Josh Heupel and whatnot. I think my 2-month-old deserves as much credit as anybody. I mean, the Vols are 3-0 since he was born.
That's a good point.
Okay. That's also your fault. So you're the key to 3-0.
True. Very true. Now we're going to test this theory on Saturday. If Tennessee beats Florida, it is 1,000% my 2-month-old Knox, because obviously, I mean, he's what's changed since Tennessee started beating Florida again.
Exactly. You floated it out there, and it was funny. I texted Landon like 10 minutes before you tweeted it. Tony Vitello on game day. I love the idea of Dolly. That would be fantastic, but Tony Vitello would probably be the best game day guest. Like, they might try to hire him away from Tennessee like they did Pat McAfee. How do we make that happen? I don't even know how guest pickers happen, but we got to do it. Do we just keep tweeting about it? Is that what we do?
Yeah, I don't know how they work either. Am I crazy for thinking that Dolly's unrealistic? I know everybody's
I said that too.
wanting.
Yeah.
Just too
I
big.
like it. To me, maybe I'm just being naive and I'm wrong, but it feels like I don't know. I just don't see Dolly doing game day. That would be awesome, and it'd be really cool to see. Don't get me wrong. It just I mean, they've had Katy Perry, but I mean, isn't like Dolly bigger than her and some of these other big time guests like a Matthew McConaughey? I don't know. She just seems unrealistic to me, but it'd be really cool if they could pull that one off. I said Tony Vitello just because of how entertaining he is, not because my favorite sport to cover is baseball, because baseball is my favorite sport, but just because I know how entertaining he will be. Like, that is must-watch television. Tony Vitello being up there for 15 minutes, sitting next to Pat McAfee. That is appointment television. That is something you record and go back and watch. So I think Tony would be a great option. I think Rick would be slick, funny to get up there. Rick has a nice sense of humor. He'd be good up there. They've got a couple of different options, but if I were in charge, I would get Tony Vitello.
If it's Kenny Chesney, we riot and we kidnap him and make somebody else do it.
Well, that's 1,000% what's going to happen, isn't it? They're going to go get Kenny, which I get it.
And if he picks Florida, somebody will destroy him as soon as he says. If an F starts coming out of his mouth, somebody's going to throw something at him right between the eyes.
Well, the good news is that we know that Kenny likes to play to a crowd, so I don't think that he would pick the Gators in that instance. But I don't know who's in charge of doing the game day picker. But if you're listening and you want the best entertainment value, Dolly may be the bigger name, but Tony will be more entertaining. I can promise you that.
And if they need to get their jet, sponsorship in, they can fly him in a circle around McGee-Tyson and land and pull Tony out of a jet. I'm sure he'll love the photo shoot. Just do it.
Yeah. Just a couple minutes away. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's obviously going to be a big weekend for the football program and recruiting, but they've got some big time baseball players coming in next weekend as well. So I'm sure Tony would love the publicity. There's no doubt about that.
But Chad's gonna be like, man, I thought this was my off season. Now I gotta go make sure Tony has makeup and everything done.
Right? Yeah, Chad will be in charge of getting the makeup for game day. I'm sure they love that.
We appreciate it, man. Do you have one more thing, Landon?
I actually have two more questions.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with Tennessee, really. Number one, AL MVP, who you got, Ohtani or Aaron Judge?
Why are you even asking me this? You know what my answer is.
Okay. Are you a Yankees guy too?
Oh, yeah, he is.
Oh, God.
For those who do not know, I am a diehard New York Yankees fan. I love the Yankees. I'm a military brat, and we were stationed in New York for 4 years when I was getting into baseball as a kid. So that's how I became a Yankees fan. And Derek Jeter was my favorite growing up. And obviously I'm going to say Judge, but I genuinely do think Judge is the MVP. Otani's having an MVP season. Don't get me wrong. Like, they both deserve the award. But what Judge is doing is absolutely stupid. I mean, he's about to hit 60 home runs and break the AL record. And for some, they'll consider, if he gets to 62, 63, they'll consider that the all-time record, because some don't consider Barry Bonds and his 73. They don't consider that the record because he did it on steroids. So he's, in a way, about to become the home run king in a season. And you're not going to give him the MVP in that manner.
Yeah.
And I know Ohtani obviously pitches as well. And again, it's stupid what he is doing. But even with him pitching, Judge's WAR, which is how they assess his value, it's higher than Ohtani's even combined pitching and hitting. So I think Judge has been more valuable. You take Judge off the Yankees, and the Yankees are not making the playoffs. You take Ohtani off the Angels, they're still 30 million games under. So it's Aaron Judge, and it's not even close.
Well, he hit 58 today, right?
Yep, he hit 58 and 59.
Oh, he hit 59.
Yep,
you didn't say a word about it, Landon. You're not really a Yankees fan.
What? No, we had a fill of the week last episode, and a MLB analyst said Aaron Judge home runs 57, Shohei Ohtani home runs plus games started 58. I was like, what does that have to do with anything? God, whatever. He gets paid a lot more money than I do, but whatever. And also I have one more question. So, that was correct. You got that one right, Ben. Did you teach Eric Kane everything you know about baseball?
No. Austin Price did. Austin Price did.
Love that. He's going to love that.
Yeah, Austin Price did. That is AP Jr. So
AP Jr.
Austin
man.
taught Eric everything he needs to know about baseball and everything else.
That's awesome. Well,
no, I love Eric. Eric's the man. He does great work, and enjoyed my time working with Bryn and Rob and Austin and all them, and made a decision I felt was best for my family. So it's
awesome.
really that cut and dry at the end of the day. And I already miss working with Eric and the guys, and wish them the absolute best. I know they're killing it with their coverage over at the news site. So happy for them.
Yeah. So kind of what's that been like for you, just that transition, and what do you think about the new team you got?
Yeah, it's been an interesting transition, just in the sense of my first day was the day of the opener. So learning
thrown in.
Right. I mean, what I'm doing isn't really changing. Obviously, baseball is still my baby. Everybody helps with football. I'll be helping Ryan Callahan with football recruiting as well, and I'll have more of an emphasis on basketball once basketball season rolls around as well. So my role hasn't really changed. Just doing it for a different site, and it's been great. I know Tennessee fans have the perception of Wes, but Wes is as nice of a human being as you will meet. It's hard to find a nicer human being than Wes, and all the guys over there, Grant Ramey, Patrick Brown, Ryan Callahan, they're all super nice and have been super friendly, and have really made the transition easy for me. And it's just been crazy just because it's a different website. And as I'm sure you all know, with uploading content, and now it's easy and it's second nature. But once you do it for the first time and you're learning how to do it and where to do it and trying to remember all these different things. That's been what's made it hectic. But other than that, it's been a lot of fun. Pittsburgh was a fun trip, and excited to see how the rest of this football season plays out and continue to cover that, and then get into basketball. That should be another fun season, and then get into baseball, which should be another fun season. So in my lifetime, I can't think of a better time to, I won't say be a Tennessee fan, because I was 3 years old when Tennessee won a national championship. So some fans got to experience a national championship, but the athletic department as a whole, when you look at the three main sports in football, men's basketball, and baseball, on top of what looks like is going to be a fun season for Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols, and Karen Weekly's always doing her thing with the softball team. Mm-hmm. Like the athletic department, on top of the administration, just continuing to take care of the fans and kind of their needs and wants as much as they can. I think Danny White and his staff are doing a tremendous job. The athletic department as a whole is as good as I've ever seen it. Granted, I'm only 27 years old, and there's people out there much older than I am.
We've had some hard times.
My 27 years on this earth, the athletic department is as healthy as it's ever been, and excited to continue covering this football season, and then some fun basketball and baseball seasons coming up.
Yeah. And just in case anyone doesn't know where to find you, where can they follow you, websites, all that good stuff?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Ben McKee 14 on Twitter, and then Go Vols 247. We've got a ton of coverage. Everything Vols over there at Go Vols 247. That's how you can keep up with us in our work.
Perfect.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Y'all kill it over there. So I appreciate you and appreciate what y'all do. And excited for the rest of this football season.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all having me on, and I saw y'all tailgating. I might have to swing by this upcoming Saturday. So
dude, we got some good food too. So
yeah, we'll be there right at sunrise probably. So whenever you get to the stadium, just stop on by. Yeah, we appreciate you, Ben, and wish you the best of luck, and congrats to you on your new adventure there at Go Vols 247.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, and anytime you need me, I'm here. So y'all have a great week. Appreciate you.
See you, man.
Have a good one. All right, that got me even more fired up.
Let's get it.
Just someone that's in the program day in, day out, getting to see kind of obviously he writes about it, and you can learn there at like I said, Go Vols 247 does a great job. He was with VolQuest for a while. They also do a great job, and you learn from them and their storytelling and their writing. But love getting to sit down with like Kim and Kane and
Kane might have some competition. Our favorite journalist.
He better be careful. We have him on. He's gonna need like a weekly spot to keep up. So
yeah, there you go.
It's on you. All right. What do you have anything else kind of about the Tennessee Akron game or Tennessee Florida game before we move around to the rest of college football? No, not much happened this week, but
not really. I don't think there's a lot to take from it. I think Tennessee dominated another team they should have dominated. Yeah. That's great to see, because that hasn't happened a lot. The past couple of years where Tennessee just dominated somebody they should. Akron is downright terrible. I think DJ Irons is a decent football player. He runs his mouth way too much, but I think he is a decent quarterback. He didn't run like I thought he would run. I thought that was weird, but I think the biggest key for Florida, and I meant to ask Ben this, and maybe you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but if Tennessee stops Anthony Richardson, they keep him contained in the pocket, they win this ballgame.
And that's so. Like, I almost want to say stop isn't the right word, because I think, first off, I don't think Anthony Richardson's that good. I think he's I think he's okay. I think he can do some good things.
I think it's drooling over him is a lot like people were drooling over Joe Milton last year. It's the body size. It's
the freak athleticism. You see a freak athlete, you start
right. And he's got that similar build to Joe Milton.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the arm Joe Milton has at all.
No. And so I think for me, I don't even think stop's the right word. It's just, you said contain right after that. I think contain's the right word.
Yeah, keep him in the pocket. That's what people have done to this point, and besides Utah, and they're 0-2 in their last two games. When you are able to contain him, keep him in the pocket, make him beat you with his arm, I don't think he's capable of doing it.
They ended up 1-1.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They
should be 0-2.
That hold, that's a fail of the week. That hold, oh my God, dude. I should have been a holder in college. Should have done
it. Yeah, that's Florida should be 0-2 in the last two. It's I just don't think Anthony Richardson's all that good. So I like our chances. It's Ben kind of said it, like a lot of the Florida Tennessee like allure of Tennessee not being able to win it is definitely more predicated on history and like fans of either Tennessee or fans of just college football that have seen the games.
Yeah.
Not that Tennessee's had a lot of better teams in recent. In fact, the last time they had probably like clearing out a better team on paper, they did win.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see it. And I think, Tennessee's got a really good chance to knock off Florida, get over that hump. But again, I like what he said. Like, Josh Heupel doesn't care about that. Hendon Hooker doesn't care about that. I mean, a lot of this team is semi-new. Cedric Tillman wasn't a factor really up until last year. So, I mean, that one win in 17 years is not – hopefully it's not on their mind. Hopefully it's just us fans just knowing that history and, hopefully they're able to kind of block that out and just go beat a team that you should beat.
Yeah.
Like they've done up to this point.
That stuff certainly doesn't matter. I think it's more just like everything's lining up that it's all happening this week. Checker kneeling, which is a big deal. It always kind of adds a little spice. College game day, obviously, they're on campus, Monday, doing interviews and around. You see them. A rivalry game, maybe a Hendon Hooker Heisman campaign. You do have kind of the weirdness of Anthony Richardson, where you saw him at Utah, and I mean, he didn't play fantastic against Utah, but he won them the ball game.
Right.
And it starts to kind of add to his legitimacy. So I think there's just all of that kind of coming around that I think you do have to
battered ball syndrome.
Well, yes, but I do think if you want to kind of, like you said, block it out, I think you have to almost intentionally block it out. Like it has to be and leader, Ben talked about this, the leadership, it takes a leader to say, like kind of recognize that it's there and move past it kind of deal. Like, this all is happening this week, but it's also all happening this week because of what we've done this season. So we've earned the right to kind of put pressure on us. Now let's move. Now let's go and let's put more pressure on us next week at LSU or 2 weeks from now at LSU.
Yeah, I think this is a great chance to kind of rewrite that script of, hey, this is a new team.
New program, everything. Flip it all, like you said.
Yeah, new athletic program. Yeah, this is, when we set the stage like this, we perform.
Right.
We're not going to set the stage and then just, crap an egg.
Yeah, you don't do a dress rehearsal, have a great dress rehearsal just to go out on opening night and crap the bed. Like you do a great dress rehearsal, so when you get out there, you get a standing O for your bows. So go earn it. Yeah, not go earn it. You earned it already. Go finish it.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weird. Like now that I say that, and it's very cliche of football, but like this is week 1 while simultaneously being week 12. Like this is the only game that matters. Go do it. Just focus on this game, get it done. Worry about everything else later.
It's like Josh Heupel might say, you can't be 15-0 until you're 4-0.
Exactly. I meant to mention this. It's almost because I don't know if you watched this press conference. I believe it was Wes that asked the question about the chippiness. It's almost like Josh Heupel's so bad at media, he's good.
Yeah.
Like you're like, that was a terrible answer, but you're like, you also didn't say anything you regret.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. We haven't had any of those yet. So, I'll be okay with him just not giving us anything than giving us something that we're just like,
you can't win jobs in a press conference.
Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah. I love that. He's just, if he doesn't give us anything, fine. Just don't be cringe in it.
Well, it's like I saw someone today. They were talking about how Shane Beamer's press conferences well unless people trolled him. I was like, well, don't give him something to troll. Like when he was asked about the linebackers, he's like, well, I mean, what do you want me to say, Phil? I don't think it was Phil that time. I was like, what do you want me to say? They're 5 stars. I mean, they're 5-star players. Like, what?
Yeah,
like, dude, calm down.
That's like, I love what Ben said. He had a great comment that he sees more highlights from Shane Beamer's press conference than he does their football team.
Yeah, no, I probably should. That football team's not good.
No.
At all.
Yeah, Georgia is that good, though, unfortunately.
Stetson Bennett got better after not being all that great and winning a national
It's the haircut, dude.
It's the haircut, for sure. It's the haircut.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about how, UCF took a step back after they go 12-0. I thought Georgia would take a step back, and they didn't. So
yeah. Nope. They might have just gotten that much better, which is crazy because that defense, which, I mean, their defense isn't better.
Yeah, let's get into some college football. Joe, you want to get in here with us also?
And let's talk just real quick that Georgia. Let's start at Georgia, South Carolina, and we can just roll on after that. First off, I mean, if you pick Spencer Rattler and that South Carolina offense, you're dumb. But my problem isn't that just like I'm wrong all the time. I'm wrong often. But that was an easy answer. That was a layup. The teacher gave us the study guide last year and said, this is Shane Beamer. This is South Carolina's offense. This is Spencer Rattler. This is what he can do. We had the study guide. They're garbage, and they're going to be garbage.
Yeah, they're not good.
And then Georgia.
I'm kicking myself for not taking that line. I don't know why.
It's just so big. Oh, the over was right. Georgia's offense is good. The mailman can score. I banked on Rattler at least being able to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown until the fourth quarter.
I figured it'd be garbage time, to be fair.
Yeah.
Figured it'll be garbage time.
But there were some good games. Any that kind of stuck out to you this weekend? I know we didn't get to watch a ton because we were at the tailgate. We did have the game going a little bit. Michigan State, Washington, that was a pretty good game. Washington kind of took control and just kind of coasted the rest of the way. Miami, Texas A&M was an absolute snooze fest.
Yeah, that's really the only, besides USC, Fresno State, those are the only games I really got to watch. And then, Nebraska, Oklahoma, but walked away from that one. That was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Wake Forest, Liberty.
Dude, so the reason I thought they won, or covered, they were up 20-8, I think, at the half.
Yep.
And I just assumed they were going to, 14? 13? Mm-hmm. I was like, they're going to run away with this in the second half. They're up 20-8. Nope. Just bad.
Yep. Not great. And then App State, we're talking about the stage being set. You didn't disappoint because you won the game, but you should have won it probably by a lot more. What a finish to do that.
And to be fair, and Florida's in the same boat this week. App State has the pleasure of setting the stage. Troy has the pleasure of trying to ruin it. Florida has they're trying to tear it down. So that is kind of a good position to be in sometimes.
Florida hasn't played a road game, though, and they haven't played any other time except at night. So I don't know if that really benefits Tennessee any, but it's got to be a little bit Tennessee's played on the road. Right. They've kind of got that first taste of it. Florida hasn't up to this point.
And Boone's awesome. I don't know the name of their stadium. Boone's great, but
it's true. Yeah.
It ain't
I'm already nervous for that game.
Also, it's just
the stomachs are already tight.
It's a bad omen that you sing the song "Long Neck." I don't know what the song title is. Long Neck. It's about cheering for a bad football team.
That's kind of losing football team. I mean, App State isn't that great. I was gonna say, they're not, but they're great in their sense. Like they're just the most fun average team to watch, in my opinion. I feel like.
No, 100%. I agree with that.
Well, he's saying that I'm sure App State has broken his heart before.
This is true.
That's why you're singing about losses. You're saying my football team might suck, but this Coors, sorry, no free ads, this beer is always going to hit no matter what.
But he's just saying it's tore him apart. Like he's saying beer has never let him down. Like football teams obviously are going to let you down.
Right, so it just seems like a bad omen, especially that day.
It wasn't in that moment, though. It didn't have to ruin his day that day.
It just sounds like it feels like an anthem for my
life.
Here's
the thing: what else are you gonna sing?
Right.
Does he not have any more bangers?
Well, yeah, he does, but Pat McAfee's the one that brought it up. I mean,
He's saying in the App State locker room one time. After a win, but still.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like what? I mean, what else kind of?
It's a heater for sure.
It is. Yeah, and Pat McAfee, if he's bringing it up, he's bringing the one long. He's bringing that one up every single time.
I mean, yeah, if he sings "When It Rains It Pours," it'd be hilarious. But it just is not.
Yeah. Now if Pat McAfee brings out Swiper Boy's Eric Berry this week. Speaking of that could be one. Eric Berry could be one.
He could be there.
I don't know how entertaining he is, though. Nothing against Eric, but
yeah, maybe
that's why I want Tony. Dolly, my brother, threw out
Inky
the
Johnson.
idea.
That would be a good one.
That would be it. I don't know. He's like, I just want someone to cut up. He's too inspirational for me for that. Yeah. Too inspirational. So Peyton's going to be on the show in some capacity.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not guest picker, maybe guest picker. My brother had a great idea. Peyton should give Dolly his picks, and then let Dolly go up on stage, and then she can go. If anything's wrong, it's Peyton's fault, and we'll all cheer. And we'll get to look at Dolly for 15 minutes.
I think the best move is just like show everyone that Florida's got the best fan base, and we just bring up like 5 stud-ass superstars, and we just get rid of the whole panel. Like everybody else gone. Like
Charles Davis. We have Mike Keith.
You know what would be hilarious? Not from a Tennessee fan perspective. If I was ESPN, and every Tennessee fan thinks ESPN hates them, I would bring Steve Spurrier.
Fans.
If I was the guest picker as honor,
right? Like someone would die.
Oh yeah.
Mostly Steve Spurrier, most likely. But
what about Camden Sewell? He's a Gator killer.
Camden Sewell will be it. If Tony Vitello goes, you got to text chat. We got to text chat. We got to make sure if Tony Vitello's on stage, Camden gets to walk up with him. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Camden's got to go with him.
I'll text him as soon as the show's over. I'll text Chad right now and be like, "Yo, this is what has to happen."
We're getting Vitello on. Camden's going on stage with him.
If I was going to get to it, but if you had to actually like genuinely have one person, like, is there any heavy like don't put them on the damn show or like anybody that you really want?
I wouldn't put Kenny or Peyton.
I don't want Kenny.
I don't want Kane Chesney. I don't want that. And
I would
he's
like to see
probably a pretty high contender for ESPN. How they like to do the whole.
I just hope they don't. I don't want them to do Morgan Wallen because I feel like that's copying what they just did with Luke.
At App State, yeah.
I don't disagree, but Morgan does rep the Vols at least.
He is a Vols fan.
Yeah. So I think that would be okay.
What about Quentin Tarantino? Isn't he a Vols fan?
I don't know. He's from Knoxville. I don't know if he's an actual Tennessee fan. If they got Quentin, I think Quentin Tarantino would be a great guest. And I think he follows football.
Like witty enough too. It'd be kind of funny. I think he's like in the know, but I don't think he's like a huge Vols fan.
I heard Samuel L. Jackson is also a Vols fan. Is that true?
Really? I don't know. He couldn't be on ESPN. They have to bleep out every other word. So that would be good. That would be awesome.
He'll probably want to kill me, but I'm pushing for Morgan Wallen just because I'm a big Morgan guy, and I feel like in terms of like when you think about ESPN and like
I'm pushing for you, Joe. I want you to be on there.
Dude, put me up there, and oh man, your is going through the roof. But
if you get on there, we get you on there. You have to bring the panel to the tailgate.
Yeah, that's right.
We do the show there.
When they transition to the stadium, they just transition to more important issues.
Yeah.
I can just be an off-site reporter too. I'll just bring it to the tailgate, and we'll just have some absolutely disgustingly vulgar, take every 5 minutes to send ESPN's way.
Or we like set up a panel, kind of like theirs, except it's just made out of like cardboard boxes, and we basically just do the same stuff they do. So I'll be David Pollock, and I'll just say the most asinine thing possible.
That's Desmond Howard. You could say both, but Desmond Howard. Don't forget, he picked A&M and Notre Dame in his playoff.
No, it was BYU.
BYU.
Wait, no. No, was it Baylor or BYU?
It was 2 people that lost week 1. I just can't remember.
Baylor. Caleb, you're going to be Bear.
Teams already have a loss. So.
Actually, no, we'll have Wes be Bear.
That's fine. I am Bear when it comes to NFL. Do not ever let me bet on NFL football. Ever.
Yeah, NFL sucks.
I'm terrible. But yeah, I think I hope they don't mess it up. I feel like they could go with if they go with anyone except Kenny Chesney, it'll be good. I think that's the only one I would not want. Like, I don't want Peyton. I think they double dip on Peyton because he's on ESPN. I think they double dip. It's good for them. It's good for Tennessee. I think it's Peyton.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't hate that.
This is his first college game day since he's retired.
I'm cool with Peyton. I'll be honest. That's fine.
Yeah, it's.
I don't
I mean,
think
it's based off views. I mean, who?
Wait, that's
I don't know who
right.
that. Wait, what?
2016 game day, he was retired. Sorry. Right, he retired in 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So never mind.
Hey, last time we checkered Neyland for Florida, we won.
Yep.
I want to wear orange and white though.
You don't want a alternate uniform? Well, guess what, Caleb? It's not up to you.
It's not.
I'm just kidding.
It's not.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. Like
I love orange and white.
I do too. I love the orange. I love all orange. I'm sorry. I would wear orange pants every single time.
Yeah, probably the same.
Get out.
This would be a great game for them to let us color rush it. Just all orange, solid all orange versus all solid blue. That would look tough.
No, Florida has to wear their actual like Gator uniforms that they wore.
They had to burn those, right?
Surely.
Had to burn those.
They couldn't even sell them.
No chance.
I
don't know. South Pole sold theirs.
What about Arkansas almost losing to Missouri State?
I thought they lost. Yeah. I thought they lost because they were down 7 in the third quarter was the last score update I got.
Yeah,
I get
they
home
scored
and
21
check it.
in the fourth. Yep.
That was unfortunate. Would have been a nice homecoming.
Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. LSU beat Mississippi State. I thought that was a kind of a must-win type deal. With set the pace for their season, so that should set up a good matchup though in Baton Rouge. So they're not completely in the dumps.
Guys, I'll go on record saying this, and I can say this because it won't happen, but Tennessee would beat this Notre Dame team by 35 points.
65.
Maybe. I mean, they are dog shit at quarterback.
It's a Friday night game, so we can talk Wyoming getting a win over Air Force.
Yeah.
17-point dogs, 16-point dogs.
Speaking of Air Force and the triple option, it is kind of poetic that we got rid of the Army game and got Akron, and then they did the same thing and went after our ankles.
At least it wasn't our defensive line every play. That's
argument.
True.
That's true.
That's my argument to that. But yes, it is ironic. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Coastal.
DJ ironic.
Cash the over.
Yeah. I went 3-2 in locks.
I as well.
Okay, I think Dylan did too. Yeah. Joe, we'll get your locks in when we do them on Thursday. If you're able to hop on,
Auburn
we'll get
sucks.
some locks. 5 locks. Everybody knows the rules. But yeah, Caleb had 4, but we're gonna make it 5 to make it even. We want to win money.
No, what?
What?
I just do 4 all the time. So I've always
that's
done
on
4.
you. That's on you.
You've always done 4.
No.
On the show?
Yeah, because we're doing 5, Joe.
We are doing 5. I'm the one who said let's go to 5. I made the decision, Landon.
Now he's trying to take credit for it.
It's cap.
It's not cap. It's not at all cap. What about everybody wanting the game to be at Duke in Kansas?
Yeah, that was my fail for later.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Pat Ford's the just absolute most joke of a human being that exists on this planet.
I blocked it.
There's a lot of
them.
But yeah, that was absolutely. And there was a lot of people that, and I genuinely originally thought this must be a joke. Like, there's no, like, and I still think that there's a really good possibility that there's just a lot of people that are just being really too good at faking the angry Twitter space. But that was the most absolutely outrageous.
We did have a lot of questions, so should we get to those just real quick?
Yeah, let's run through those, and then we'll get to our segments, I think. Okay. I mean, is there anything, real quick, any other games you want to talk about that just were notable?
I thought it was pretty surprising that Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss is a good football team, but the fact that they beat Georgia Tech 42-0 was pretty surprising to me.
Yes, for sure. And then I think we need to talk about upsets. Eastern Michigan knocked off Arizona State. Arizona actually ended up beating North Dakota State. They were underdogs to an FCS team.
And Penn State beat Auburn. Auburn they might be worse than Vanderbilt.
Oregon destroyed BYU.
Yep.
Did not think they would destroy them.
No. Yeah, let's get to these questions real quick.
Butch Jones lost in the state of Tennessee again last night. Just want to last little tidbit. Yeah. Okay.
Nice. Good for him. Congrats, Butch. Ann said, "What's going on with freshman Cam Miller and Miles Campbell?" I just think they're non-factors, honestly. Cam Miller's on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's kind of that tweener. He just needs to find a home, but I think he's a good kind of athlete to have, and he's probably going to be a special teamer for his first year or two on campus, and then kind of we'll see how he develops and stuff like that. There's not a lot of freshmen making a ton of impact except in these, right. You didn't see hardly any against Pitt except on special teams. I think James Pierce is another guy I forgot to mention. He is massive. And he destroyed somebody on a kickoff against Pitt, and then he had a big tackle the other night as well. So, and then Miles Campbell, I think they want him to be good and help this team out, but he's yet to put it all together. I think he is probably the most complete tight end that they have, but he's just unreliable.
Yeah, and I mean, I think our other tight ends are playing pretty good ball right now too, which means there's just not a ton.
You got to earn that trust, and to this point, he has it.
Yep.
Well, do we have some other questions?
We had a few. I had to go run through there. See if I can pull them up. I've had to click in and out of here.
JRC for UT. He asked about the NL MVP, Strider or Harris. I'm going to go Strider. I'm going to go Knoxville Kid.
I like it. We also had Josh Hazelwood ask if they'd bring Folky up there. He is a Gator killer.
That's true.
I wouldn't hate having him up there too, with next to Camden. You got to have Camden up there.
That's or let's have Zakai. He got that first taste of that Florida-Tennessee rivalry and almost got in a fight. But that was Florida, right?
I don't remember that.
Their coach,
Kentucky,
right? That was Kentucky. Okay.
That was Kentucky. Yeah.
He still beat Florida, so.
And
Kentucky.
He did. Facts.
I don't know. I would like to see Tony V. I think he would be the most entertaining probably out of everybody.
Yeah, why settle?
Yeah.
That's
just going to help that baseball program grow even more too.
That's
I know they got
why ESPN wouldn't want to do it.
They have the number one recruiting class, I think, for next year and the year after that right now. So that probably only helps them. I'd hate to see that. That'd be terrible.
Right.
Most important.
I've got App State, baby. This is my favorite thing. It's way better than that rat poison bullcrap. Apparently, App State plays small wooden mouse traps all around their football building this week to drive home a point to their players to don't take the cheese. They probably walked in and were like, do we have a rodent problem this week? No, we're just trying to get you motivated for Troy.
And you've got, like your quarterback's walking around bare feet and accidentally steps off one of the traps, and there he goes. He's inactive for next week, and you're playing.
Would that not have been awesome? Did you see, I can't remember their quarterback's name. He was helping fans onto the field to storm. Did you see that video? He's on the sideline, and he's grabbing people's hand and helping them over like the railing to get down on the field.
Dude, all I want is just to storm the damn field. And I know it would take just the most miraculous upset over maybe Bama for the first time in forever, but I just want to touch the grass.
That's what illegally.
Mine is North Dakota State. They end up losing to Arizona, but I think it was a tight end caught a touchdown pass, and he did a leg dab.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean.
Also, I think they said the first leg dab ever. There's a guy on TikTok who does a leg dab every day. He's done it for like 3 years.
He's verified just from doing that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I mean that was Pro Football Focus who said it was the first ever. It wasn't the first ever. It was the first ever celebration for a touchdown, I would think.
It was, yes. Did you see, who was it with the Dolphins? That terrible gritty he hit?
Oh, was it the Dolphins? I saw that today. I thought it was
Was it their tight end?
Yeah.
Giuseppe?
I think it was Giuseppe, yeah.
He caught a touchdown pass.
And I think he tweeted and he said, "This looks so much better in my mirror."
Someone did one today, and I could have sworn it was on the Cardinals. Or maybe it was Niners. I don't know, but it was obviously done intentionally bad, but it was like so funny because it looked like they were trying it. Like,
I don't know if this one was done completely intentionally bad. Maybe tried to make it look daddish, but it wasn't great.
Well, fell on him for being terrible. That's why I dropped him from my fantasy team. So
we got a tutty this weekend, Landon.
Well, cool. He got 7 points. He got a catch and a tutty.
More than Kyle Pitts.
God bless. My most important is Mike Evans.
All right.
Just
standing up for Tom Brady.
Yeah, after he shoves Marshawn Lattimore, which him and Marshawn Lattimore go at it all the time. They're in the same division. They face each other all the time. He actually, like, Lattimore and Jameis Winston got into it a couple years ago, and Mike Evans, like, did the same thing.
Yeah, it was like right on the sidelines, wasn't it? I mean, he went up and just absolutely died. Mike Evans is not.
Yeah, don't mess around with Mike Evans. But, yeah, he shoved him today, and then the ref is, like, talking to him, and he's got his helmet off, and it's like, that's Tom Brady. What you want me to do? I mean, it's hard to disagree.
That's going to be his appeal to Goodell, and Goodell's going to be like, you're right, no fine.
Yeah, right. Hey, I'd play that card if he was my quarterback too. So
for sure,
we all would. Mine's gonna be Tua and on Tua Tagovailoa. Everyone, look, I was a Tua hate. I wasn't a hater, but I was definitely a Tua doubter. Some of those preseason passes, and even the one from last week where he just airballed it by like 20 yards. But it looked great today. 36 completions, 469 yards, 6 touchdowns. Nice. Granted, I understand Jalen. Yeah, nice. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek are both like two absolute weapons, but I didn't expect them to both be able to have games like that. And I know the Ravens' defense obviously isn't, at all. I mean, their offense can win them games all day. Their defense pretty much stinks. But letting up the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins are 2-0 people. They started off. They had 28 points to come back in the fourth quarter to win, so good for them. But yeah, Tua dropped a big old 6-bagger on him.
Nice,
Alvin Kamara style.
Is the is this the year of the NFL quarterbacks and the Bama NFL quarterbacks? Are we riding Jalen Hurts hot tomorrow night?
No, Mac Jones is trash.
Mac Jones won, didn't he?
He still stinks.
What more do you want him to do than win, guys?
He sucks.
A win is a win is a win is a win.
Put up more than like 12 fantasy points.
Yeah, they beat Mitch Trubisky. I'm not taking anything from that.
He probably put up more than Tom Brady this week. Good God.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Lions. He had 3 sacks in the first half today against the Commanders.
You do a Michael Jackson celebration?
Popping off.
I don't know. Maybe.
There's a guy on the Lions named Michael Jackson, or maybe it wasn't the Lions. I saw it come across the screen on Red Zone today, and it was like, oh, Michael Jackson. Let's go. I was expecting an entire moonwalk when he got the touchdown. I was like, didn't see it, so I was a little pissed off, but I don't know.
Missed opportunities. That's just missed opportunities. Fools.
It's an easy name. When you're like, what are you going to name it? Like, you're put on the spot. That's just an easy name to just yell out. Just put that on the birth certificate. Any more most important?
No more most important for me. That was it. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Last one. This should have been last week's. Tyreek Hill and Mike McDaniel going for it on 4th and 7. So this is last week's game. McDaniel's going to need a wheelbarrow for his nuts to carry them around.
Same with the Giants. That was a huge going for it on 2 for 2. That was sure. The G-men are actually – I don't know the last time the Giants started season 2-0, but –
God bless. Don't remind me.
They've done it.
The Panthers suck. I hate them.
You know what's crazy? They have like decent like receivers, and Baker Mayfield's like he should be a semi-decent quarterback in terms of like raw talent, but they just look so bad. And Christian McCaffrey, like, don't ignore the fact that they have arguably one of the league's best running backs, and they just can't put it together whatsoever.
They suck. They're so bad. Yeah, they'll like get it. They'll like get a first. Yeah.
Because they beat the Panthers. They lost to the Jets. They lost to Joe Flacco and the Jets. They suck.
Yeah. Not even Milf Hunter, Zach Wilson. That would have been cool, but.
Fell for me, Joe Burrow and the Bengals losing on 2 last-second field goals the past 2 weeks.
It was bad.
Yeah, that defense is terrible.
Yeah. And their O-line can't hold for anything. Joe Burrow's getting bodies after bodies just coming at him, but I hope they figure it out because I got Joe Mixon, so.
Yeah, I got T. Higgins. He had a decent day, but not great.
I've got Notre Dame's offense coordinator, Tommy Rees. Did you all see this?
Mm-mm.
He gets Drew Pine on the phone, and he yells at him.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, do your effing job. What are you thinking? Do your effing job. Those cameras probably aren't going to be in the Notre Dame press box the rest of the season.
Also, yes, but also do your effing job and score some points, my guy.
Here's my question. If you're yelling that at a quarterback, like, what does that mean exactly?
Isn't it your job to score points? Also?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I feel like the quarterback position is a little bit more complicated than just do your job type deal.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more nuance to it.
Yeah, it feels like a lineman. Like just literally hold the line, do your job, but it's like you're quarterback. Just,
He's lucky Jeremy Pruitt isn't the coach, or he would have been fired in the middle of that game.
Yeah, right. Jeremy Pruitt's the same guy who kicked a blackboard on the sidelines. Which, by the way, I did like that. That was hilariously awesome.
You all were talking about going for it on 4th down. Did you see South Alabama go for it on 4th down?
I didn't.
Against UCLA.
No one watched that game.
In front of 6,000 people?
It was about like a 45-yarder, and they were up 31-29.
Oh, no.
And so they go for it, and it was just a crap show. Like, they all spread out.
Swinging gate type deal?
Yeah, like they all spread out and tried to throw a pass, and it was just the worst pass of all time. It was miserable.
You could have completely filled Neyland. Like, Neyland was so full and the Rose Bowl was so empty. If you had taken the people that were actually in the Rose Bowl on Saturday and put them in Neyland, it would have been officially full. But there was also only 6,000 people in the Rose Bowl. So it's not a compliment to the Rose Bowl at all.
Can we move the bowl to Neyland? Why is that? That would be electric.
I'm actually game for that. Yeah, sign me up. Any more fails?
That's all I got.
Same. Other than Pat Ford making money to spew shit out of his mouth. Whatever.
It's Florida week, guys.
Yeah,
Florida week. As Mama Howard would say, I'm a Gator hater. Or, sorry, Mama Howard would sing, I'm a Gator hater. Get prepped, get pumped. It's probably going to be a long week at work. Do what you got to do to get through it. We'll see you guys Saturday morning. More Important Issues Tailgate, sponsored by Austin White with Realty Executives. It's going to be a great time. I'm pumped.
Shout out Ben McKee for coming on the show tonight. Really awesome job. We'll have to get him on again. Guys, love y'all. Thanks for showing up to the tailgate this past weekend. It was so much fun. Can't wait to do it again this weekend. And we're bringing the boat in, and we out.